This whole Ray Rice fiasco has been an eye-opening experience into the psyche of most Americans. And I have some things I need to say about this. There are definitely things that won't be liked in this podcast, but it's needed to be said. The hypocrisy, the double standards, and people's unwillingness to forgive. All of this needs to be addressed. There are now people calling for Roger Goodell's job and also saying Ray Rice should never be allowed to play in the NFL again. I'll tell you why that's hogwash next. Since people like to get things misconstrued, I'm going to preface this conversation by saying in no form do I support domestic violence. In no form do I think what Ray Rice did was right. In no form do I think the NFL, how they handled the situation, was right. But to say that Ray Rice doesn't deserve a second chance in the NFL, I find that to be completely unfair. Michael Vick is in the NFL. Dante Stallworth is in the NFL. Josh Brent is in the NFL. Ben Roethlisberger is in the NFL. So why shouldn't Ray Rice be allowed to serve his suspension and make another NFL team if he's still able to? Ben Roethlisberger had multiple sexual cases against him. No charges were filed, but they were documented. Dante Stallworth has killed another human being and was allowed back in the league. I mean, he was drunk driving and killed another human being. Same with Josh Brent, killed his teammate driving while drunk. Michael Vick had the dogfighting scandal. Now, in no form am I saying that what Ray Rice did is okay and is excusable, because it isn't. The point is, once he serves his suspension, why shouldn't he be allowed a second chance? And what really pisses me off is the fact that Floyd Mayweather is a convicted domestic abuser and nobody ever has anything to say negative about him. People are still ordering his fights. He is still bringing in the most money in the sport of boxing. And nobody cares. I don't hear any outrage towards Floyd Mayweather at all. And Floyd Mayweather pleaded guilty to domestic abuse. No contest. I find the hypocrisy in that to be egregious. I mean, we are tiptoeing a fine line as Americans. If we say Ray Rice should not be allowed a second chance, then none of us should be allowed a second chance. After our first mess up, our first mistake, we should be defined by that moment. Let's not act like we are all perfect. Just because Ray Rice is a millionaire doesn't mean he has to be perfect in life. He made a huge mistake, a disgusting mistake, a cowardly mistake. But that does not mean Ray Rice should not be allowed to play in the NFL again. If the NFL will allow players who were responsible for the deaths of other human beings to play in their league, then Ray Rice should be allowed to play in their league after he serves his suspension as well. Roger Goodell completely dropped the ball when it comes to how he handled this whole Ray Rice situation. I mean, the NFL is a billion-dollar corporation. They definitely should have been able to acquire the video of what took place in the elevator. I'm guessing Roger Goodell took Ray Rice's word and Janae Palmer's word as to what took place in the elevator and decided he didn't want to see it. And that was definitely wrong of him, because the NFL should have been bigger than that. They should have realized that this is bigger than football. This is a societal issue that destroys many homes in America. But to say for that mistake that Roger Goodell made, to say that he should be fired, I think it's taking it beyond way too far. He should be punished. I don't know how you punish a commissioner, whether you suspend him for a certain amount of games, make him donate a certain amount of money to domestic violence awareness, as in the form of a fine. But to say he deserves to be fired is completely unfair. I mean, is Roger Goodell the one who has committed acts of domestic violence? Because that punishment to me fits the crime of the actual act of committing domestic violence. Roger Goodell was ignorant to the fact. He even admitted that in the form of the new policy that he has against domestic violence. That is automatic 6 games for first offense. If Roger Goodell did not see the video prior to giving Ray Rice only a 2-game suspension, if he did not see the video of what took place in the elevator, if that did not take place, he does not deserve to be fired. Simple as that. Let's not make this world out to be so perfect. One mistake and we're calling for people's heads. This is getting ridiculous. Roger Goodell is not the one committing domestic violence. So can we stop vilifying him? This doesn't make any sense. He deserves to be punished. I have nothing against him being punished. But to call for his head over one mistake, a judgment call, when the police didn't even take action? How about we address them? How about we ask them how come they didn't file charges after seeing that video? Because they actually had access. We know that factually. How about that? Now, in no form what I'm about to talk about has to do with the Ray Rice video in no form. It's just a problem that I see in society that is worth addressing. Now, I feel no man should ever retaliate towards a woman unless he is literally fearful of his life, unless she has a weapon or something of that nature. Because a man can get out of a situation for himself most of the times when it comes to a woman attacking him. But there needs to be the narrative pushed in America that women should not hit men. There should be no tolerance for that as well. Where's this image for our daughters and young women to see? It is not okay for you to smack your man because you just found out he cheated on you last week. It is not okay for you to smack your man based on your own insecurities. It is not okay for you to then burn your man's clothes because you found out he cheated. If a man does not put his hands on you, then you should never put your hands on a man. And there should never be an instance where a man ever puts his hands on a woman. But the fact that we never say women shouldn't hit men is a problem. And it's also a problem that if anyone says that now people start jumping on them as if they are inferring that men should be able to retaliate, because that's not how I feel and how most people who state that feel. In no form should a man retaliate, but our young women and daughters need to hear that they should not be putting their hands on men either. People fail to realize there are really women out here who think that they are entitled to hit a man if they find out he lies, they find out he cheated. And that narrative is being pushed to the younger generation in our culture. And this needs to be handled and spoken on. These feminist groups need to realize that. And I also hear women saying, using the excuse that if a woman does hit a man, that, well, a man is stronger. Well, that is true. And the man should never retaliate. But you also should be telling your daughter and these other young women that they should not be putting their hands on men for whatever reason. That needs to be pushed in America. This double standard needs to end. It's cancerous. It's poison. I'm out.